So, hi guys, I'm back. As you know, I'm Ayush, co-founder of the Case Club, along with Rohan. And Rohan's camera is still not working, so I'm gonna take this interview. He was supposed to take it, but yeah. So again today for our talk and consult 101 module 1 continuation, we have Vamsi. As we already know, Vamsi was our NC stud alum, is our NC stud alum, who graduated from IITM in 2019. He was the co-CAS, Evolve Core, Brand Changer, got McKinsey. Yeah, he's too good. So yeah, this video is a continuation of our interview with Vamsi. In part 1, we discussed what exactly is management consulting, and now we shall continue with understanding why management consulting and how to get into it. So let's get started right away. Hi Vamsi, why is management consulting considered such a sought after career? Is it the money? Is it the learnings? Is it the growth? Why?
Yeah. So why is consulting a sort of a career? Multiple benefits. Let me list them down one by one. Number one, um, the kind of learning you have is absolutely great because of the exposure to the people, exposure to sectors, exposure to business leaders, exposure to clients. The exposure itself uh, gives you so much learning, and the diversity of the kind of work that you do. Those two together give you a steep learning curve. That's one.
So,
Um,
sorry to cut you here. This exposure word is used everywhere. Can you kind of explain what is exposure?
no, makes sense. I don't want to use any jargon. So, dude, exposure is like this, right? At least this is the way I view it. And again, people can see it in different ways. Um, so when you meet two people who are brought up in different locations and different family backgrounds, there's a difference in the way they think. There's a difference in the way they react to situations. There's a difference in their outlook towards life. And that's primarily because they've been exposed to different things, right? And somewhat that happens, right? When you're exposed continuously to business leaders, to people who are absolutely smart, people who are always moving fast, you start developing those traits in you, and that sets your work ethic. So when I say exposure, I just mean that working with those people and observing them and absorbing what they are doing, that really changes the way you carry yourself, the way you think, the way you work. And that is a very big learning curve, right? Because these are intrinsic skills you're picking up. These are not things you remember and apply. These are just becoming a part of your personality. That's what I say when there's a learning curve because of exposure and diversity of the things you do. Second is the kind of networks you make. Like, I think these are again very undervalued sometimes, but networks really unlock a lot of things that you can do in life later. And I think a lot of us don't realize the kind of networks you make in IIT itself, right? Because you're in IIT right now, but once you leave IIT and 3 years from now, 4 years from now, you look back and the kind of friends you have, they are in places which are like amazing. And then you just have access to
Kind of
those
the
places.
seniors we have.
Absolutely, right? So that's the kind of networks that you build at IIT. Similar networks are unlocked at any consulting firm that you go to because a lot of people end up doing very diverse and great things once they leave these jobs. That's two. Um, Third thing would be the skill sets that you pick up, right? Which are communication skills, Excel, PPT, or in general being able to synthesize information well. So all those things, that's definitely something that's sort of. And fourth, obviously, is exit options. The kind of opportunities you do get after consulting are something that very limited set have access to, and then you have access to those opportunities which otherwise would take a lot more years or would not be possible without an MBA or something. Um, or even opening up certain doors to B schools which would otherwise wouldn't be possible or very difficult. So I think exit options also is another reason why people are attracted to consulting. Fifth, I would say lifestyle, but it's a debatable thing, man. Some lifestyle, there's no universal lifestyle which is good, right? Like I might think a lifestyle is great, and you might disagree with me, and you might say my lifestyle is better. So there's certain lifestyle to it which has certain swagger if you want it, depending on the individual, and that also is an attractive proposition, I think.
So, after stalking a lot of seniors on LinkedIn, what I've seen is that a lot of people who get into consult from NC leave it within 1 or 2 years and get into VC. Is there a pattern that I'm not understanding?
I mean, You're talking to a guy who's in the same thing, man. So it'll be
Exactly.
ironic. Um,
So is this a pattern, something conventional?
I mean, it's not unconventional for sure. It's not. I'm not doing something very outlandish, but it's not the only thing
Mhm.
people do. Like if you really pick patterns, people end up doing multiple things after consulting. And at least a few conventional ones being working for a private equity fund, which is a PE, role, working for a venture capital fund, which is a VC role. Joining a lot of NGOs or developmental organizations like Pratham, Ankara Foundation.
Uh,
A lot of them, or African Leadership Academy. People do that as well. A lot of people join startups. 1MG, Misho, Oyo. A lot of them join that. Um, and a lot of them actually continue to decide to continue as well. So there are multiple options that do open up, and these are very. I mean, the conventional ones are the ones I mentioned, right? But there are a lot more that open up, and people take whatever they feel is the inner calling for them.
that's great. So I hope it's kind of clear to viewers why consulting is a sort of the career. I sort of had a personal question here. I do not see people who get into McKinsey, BCG, Bain right after their undergrad, then going to IIMs as such. It's not very frequent. Why?
I use controversial question, huh? Hmm. First of all, I know people who have been BAs at McKinsey and have gone and joined IIM Ahmedabad.
Uh,
Um, But see, typically, why do people go to a B school or an IIM? Because they want a sectoral pivot, which means they want to switch their career from a tech role to a management role. Or they're
correct.
doing they're an engineer wanting to go into management. But once you enter into these firms as a management consultant, you already are in a management role. So many times,
Correct.
people just feel that the kind of value they will derive out of an MBA from IIM might not be what they're looking for. Um, you know. Now you might ask me, but once they end up going to B schools abroad, why is that? उधर भी तो MBA कर रहे हैं. Correct. But the thing is, apart from a sectoral pivot, which means pivoting your sector from engineer to manager or from
Geography.
techie to manager, yes, there's a geographical pivot angle to it. Then there's an angle of cultural exposure or just wanting to explore the whole thing, right? Like I've seen
Right.
enough of Indian education system. I want to explore what's the Western education system like. That curiosity might be there, or just pure networks. I might feel that the kind of networks I will build there would be very different, and I want them. So there are multiple reasons that contribute, but typically this is what happens. And typically when you do, let's say an IM or an ISB, degree from there, you come back to roles which you could have otherwise also been at if you had continued at McKinsey,
Correct.
or a BCG or a Bain. Like had you continued and then you go to an MBA and come back, you'll pretty much be there. मतलब 1-2 साल का अंतर होगा which is on a larger time scale very negligible if you think about it. So maybe that's another
Makes
reason why people don't do MBAs from India after this.
makes sense. Perfect. So moving on to how to get into management consulting. There are two schools of thoughts here, which are kind of same, but I'll just tell both of them. A, the peak system, the conventional peak system. I'm sure all our viewers are kind of aware of the peak system, if not exactly. And the second school of thought is an interesting resume, which is kind of overlapping with the peak system, but they feel that even without peaks, you can make it there. Which school of thought is correct or more relatable or and before getting into this, can you just briefly tell us about the peak system, the logic behind it?
Got it. Dude, I see. I'm a no-nonsense guy. Okay, so typically the answer you would expect is, "हाँ, peak system होता है, and here are the peaks, here are the buckets," right? But I'll be very honest.
Uh-huh.
I think seeing them as peak systems is a bit incorrect. Okay,
Uh-huh.
and to answer your question, right, it's a mix of both. But peak system is very. It sounds very brutal in some ways, and it's also wrong way of looking at it. Um, the way I think anyone should look at their resumes is that कि भाई अपनी एक personality है. We all have a personality that has to come across on that paper, and obviously ऐसा नहीं कि ऐसे लिखना अपने बारे में. You want to come across as someone who's been achieving some things. So what you must look for is whatever 2-3 things you have picked up, okay, in Insti over the 4-5 years, you pick up 2-3 things, or over your lifetime actually, pre-Insti stuff also. Are there signs of excellence? Like, are there signs of excellence, right? For example, if you're totally into accounts, right, what would be a simple sign of excellence? 9
9
point,
percent.
right?
Yeah.
See, now you might say, Vamsi, so is that a peak? I mean, in that way, yeah, it might come across like that. But see them as signs of excellence. Like, okay, I'm a guy who fell in love with Shastra. I just kept doing Shastra all my life. So for the society again, from a resume point of view, what would be a mark of excellence? Maybe certain position you achieved in that POR ladder, or some big scale impact that you made in your POR, right?
Yeah.
That could be a sign of excellence, right? You say no, I didn't like PORs to begin with in Insti, but I really like research. Cool. Like a great intern in a great university, or a publication in a journal, that's a mark of excellence. You might
Correct.
say, hey, I was totally into sports. Great. Did you, I mean, you played intra IT, you played for state, I don't know, whatever you did. Great. Excellent again, right? So I think whatever you pick up, I think having signs of excellence is what, I mean, you do an intern, get a PPO. Great. I mean, you did a great thing at a intern, right? You got a PPO. So I think that is what people should think of rather than peaks, right? Because a peak system makes your thinking very narrow about your resume, which is a very big mistake to make, because then you're trying to be a template guy, and not all of us are templates, right? Like some of
Correct.
us fall into the conventional templates because of the way we have been living our instilla, but some of us are not. Like I know people who have made it, who I know a person, she is like a dancer, dude. Like she's a great dancer.
Yeah.
That's a mark of excellence. She did something amazing in dancing, in Bharatnatyam and whatever classical dance she pursued. I know a person who was totally into tech, and that's what they excelled at. You know, so I think looking for those 2-3 points of excellence in your own career trajectory in life, that is what is important, and they will translate to peaks. But you can't optimize for that because you yourself don't know what a peak is. And unfortunately, I've never been in a shortlisting process of any consulting firm, right? So um, yeah, if you put it that way, peaks hai across 4 or 5 buckets. I can tell you acads, in professional experience or
So it's just
interns,
that they are dividing the
POR,
resume into.
extracurricular. But
Hmm.
again, all I'm trying to get at is those are conventional ways of doing it. But you need not be that person.
Correct.
Like, what if I'm not someone who was interested in PORs? Why the hell should I have a POR section?
Correct.
You know, what if research was my enthu? Like, I'll talk about my research papers and my projects, right? Like, big deal.
Makes
So,
sense.
but excellence is what you want to bring out. दो तीन चीज किया है, but अच्छे से किया है. That is what is
They're
important.
looking for people who do what they do excellently.
Yeah, and more fundamentally, the excellence typically comes because you've really spent time and put fight with basic
Makes sense.
smartness. So वही है ultimately. मतलब.
So moving on from this good level of discussion to a little subpar question, I've many people have asked me this, many juniors have asked me this. How important are case study competitions on your resume to get a consult shortlist?
Oh, case study competition, dude. I have won 0 case study competitions.
And you're in McKinsey.
I mean, yes, that aside, but I know people who haven't won any of these competitions are still there. So again, excellence, right? अगर तुम्हारा, if your niche is case study competitions, then yeah, bloody win some competitions, win some really good competitions, and put them in a resume and show that this is my part, this is my the sign of excellence. Great, that's your peak, quote unquote, in your own way. So that's how I see it. So is it important? Haan, bhai, if you're doing well, if you're winning competitions at national level, yeah, please do win. Don't stop yourself. But will I not get the shortlist if I don't have them? That's a false statement. You can still get shortlisted even if you have, even if you don't have those things.
So I think the message to the viewers is that pick up activities you really like and then try to excel in them. That
Yeah,
is
immerse
something.
yourself, pura fight maro, and excel at it. Baki shortlist will follow. Like, yeah, yeah,
Fine. So moving on to the last question for this video. Let's say for some reason someone is unable to get a shortlist. He did what he wanted. He was fine, but let's say he was unlucky and he couldn't get a shortlist. What options does he have if he still wants to get into management consulting? Is off campus a good option?
yeah. Okay. Multiple ways to approach this. Okay, I'm just putting across what is coming in my head, but if this goes up on YouTube, please let me know in the comments what are the other ways of doing it. See, but I would say one way would be to, okay, I'll just put options, right? Option number one, you can apply off campus, but typically what will help you get shortlisted or even get noticed by these firms is if you know partners or associate partners in those firms. All right. So that's one off-campus way where you get recommended by a partner or an associate partner to be interviewed or considered, and then your process starts. That's one. Two, there is something called, I mean, different companies have different processes for off-campus as well. They call it batch day, off-campus hiring, where they take a pool of resumes and then they conduct a process. Very unlikely that you will be noticed, but that is still there. Three is to say, hey, I will write CAD, go do my IIM, or I'll write ISB, I'll write my GMAT and go do an ISB, and then join back consulting. People from IIM join as consultants as well. That is three. I would say these are the top three ways of really getting into management consulting if you don't get shortlisted from campus.
So,
But it's a bit
what
difficult. I mean, it's a bit more difficult than being on campus. That is at least one thing I know.
makes sense? You'll have to compete on a national level, and your resume will
It's just too difficult to get noticed. That's the problem.
correct. So, one last question, which is sort of personal again. What if someone is unable? What if someone is actually a management consulting enthusiast? He feels that this is my calling, but he's unable to get an MBB shortlist. Should he opt to get into other management consulting firms that come to NC? There's EY, there's EXL Services, Deloitte, Octus. So these are relatively smaller, at least as compared to MBB. But is it bad if they get into them? Is it bad? Is what my question is.
I wish I would refrain to answer this right now because you have taken some names that I really can't comment on. But in general, I'll give you the philosophy of how I think about this. Okay, how I think about this, and
can we talk in terms of tier 1 and tier 2?
Again, I don't want to get into it, bro. Like, hey, तू तीन चीज बोला उधर, पांच चीज बोला इधर, बोला tier 1, tier 2. My viewers are not stupid enough not to know how you're correlating them. But I'm just saying that this is how I think about it. Okay, this is how I think about it. For me, whom you are working with and where you are is a lot more important than what exactly I'm doing. And that's the way I solve it. Okay, that's the way I look at career in general for a starting job. And hence for me, the brand value or the kind of opportunities I will get by being there is a lot more important than what exactly I'm doing there. Now, for a lot of people, doing a particular profession is what is important to them. All right. And they don't really care where they are, with whom they are, because doing what they're doing is what is important for them. Right. So if consulting is really what you want to do in your heart, then yeah, go for whatever company you want, whichever gives you shortlist. Nothing is bad or good at that level. But so always think about how will things progress from there. And if you feel that the progress won't be great, whereas if I do something else, my opportunities and my prospects are better, then I think it's logical to not jump into something just because you find it interesting or fancy. I've scripted it enough to not be controversial, but I think the message has landed. Okay.
Correct. That was a
clearly I was so disappointed. Yeah, I started the podcast like I'm Tanmay Bhatt and he's Gurusimran Khamba, and we wanted some controversy and fun podcast, and this guy is just playing all political correct answers.
No, fine. Since it's going on YouTube, even I don't want to get into eyes of. Let's say if I want to get into these firms and they watch this video, wouldn't be good for me.
Dude, very unlikely they'll care. Very unlikely they will care. But okay, whatever you think.
Fine, great. So I hope our viewers are now very clear about what consulting is, why is it sorted, and how should you get there? How should you plan your NC life, or don't plan your NC life, please, but excel in activities that you take. So I think that will finish our module 1 of Consult 101, Demystifying Consulting Career. There's also going to be a live session with our mentors, as you must have already read in the estimate. So stay tuned and be there and have fun. All the best. Thank you.
Just the last point. I know I always say a last point after you finish the video, but so just like Ayush mentioned, right, like just excel at whatever you pick up, whatever you like. Obviously, be more mindful about them. I'm not saying that go YOLO and do whatever you want, right? Like, and I think the best way to solve this is, guys, just have more exposure and talk to more seniors. this is one person's point of view, which is slightly outdated because it's been 2 years since I graduated. As you talk to more and more people, as you get their views, you'll be able to identify what is it that suits you. Okay, and this is something I want to encourage in everybody. Like, just start reaching out to your seniors. They're a lot more responsive than you think they are. They'll definitely respond. All of us have a sense of belongingness to Insti and juniors. So please reach out to people, ask them questions, real questions, not just questions that will help you convince yourself, and then build a point of view on how you want to go about it. Yeah. Okay, I showed you again. Do your
Yeah,
monologue
that
again.
was actually a very helpful point. Like, honestly, when I approached Vamsi on LinkedIn, I was actually a bit skeptical. I didn't know Vamsi as such, and just messaging him straight away on LinkedIn, hey, I'm forming a case club, please mentor us. I felt it was really weird, but he was so supportive and helpful. He actually helped us make a structure. Now he's giving us an interview which will help us launch the club. So reach out to seniors, reach out to us if you want, and get things clarified. That will be amazing. With this, I think we can end this video once again. And Rohan, yeah, we can stop the recording.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Vansi. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ayush. Thank you, Rohan. All the best, guys.
Bye.